Hi, Mads.
Hi, Anders.
Thanks a lot for taking 8 to 10 minutes with me to talk a bit about you and your experiences with Herodesk. Can we start there? Could you quickly tell us who you are, who you guys are, where you're from, and what you do?
Yes, I'm the e-commerce manager at VLAX Nordic. We sell a lot of acoustic panels as well as fencing. Plus, we have a side business, or rather a large company called Silent Wood, which is all over Europe right now, or at least half of Europe, if not more. What we focus on most right now are our acoustic panels, which we sell all over with lots of accessories and in many different colors. So that's it. And as for my role in the company, as I said, I'm the e-commerce manager. The way I handle everything is basically to keep it all running in terms of budget, customer service, and how we advertise ourselves online.
Great. And customer service is our focus today. Could you tell us a bit about how you handled that before joining the Herodesk setup?
Yes, well, basically, we didn't really have a very structured approach to how we should handle customer service since we started with just Denmark and Sweden and then suddenly expanded to many, many countries. That obviously made it a bit difficult with the language barrier, and it was hard because of how explosively we grew all of a sudden. And that just showed us clearly that we couldn't maintain the same level of customer service as we usually did. So we faced a lot of, you could say, obstacles and issues with language, as well as the sudden influx of so many requests. And that's one of the reasons we reached out to someone like Bayerners with Herodesk to help us move forward, as well as find a solution where we can provide good enough customer service. And by good enough, I mean the level we want to achieve, where we can support customers from start to finish.
Do you remember when you were in that process of figuring out, okay, there are more markets, more languages, language barriers, many inboxes, many channels, and so on? In that whole journey of figuring out how to structure it, do you remember what made you choose Herodesk in the end?
Yeah, definitely. We all know that feeling of coming in on a Monday and having around 100 emails, and you just can't see how you'll get through it all on the very first day and actually do the things you want or need to do during the week. We then had to multiply that by 10 because sometimes we'd come in on a Monday and actually have about 1,000 emails just from one thing, and that simply made it almost impossible for us to focus on the tasks we actually wanted to focus on, which were development and being able to provide consumers with good products, find better prices, or advertise ourselves better. At least from a large company perspective, it was a huge slowdown. It basically brought everything to a halt for us. We had so many people who didn't feel heard, they didn't feel we were present, which made it really, really bad in terms of our conversion rate. So that's why we started looking into whether we could get some automation, some more help, a buddy to help us through it all. And then we actually got this recommendation to look at Herodesk because we found out that you had these things called agents, simply AI agents that could help across languages. And we could even create our own agent and train it, or you could say develop it to be our voice and at the level we wanted. So that was primarily why we looked at Herodesk. It has obviously evolved a lot over the, I think, 6 months we've had it or more. It's already starting to blur for me how long it's been, but it's certainly gone incredibly fast for us, setting it up from scratch and then moving forward to the point where we now come in on a Monday to, well, a 10th. Sometimes we actually only have 10 emails for one of these countries, which is incredible. So that's definitely why we sort it out and still use it today.
Yeah, it's not because you have fewer inquiries, it's because the agents have taken over the workload for you.
Definitely. I mean, we've only, in terms of revenue and traffic, actually grown. We're growing by almost, well, these almost explosive 20 to 30% per month in terms of traffic, which is obviously great for us, but also constantly creates that challenge of how we meet customer service slash the customer journey. And that's where we can basically see that I think it was about 2 months ago when we really specialized these agents that we can see how much it's actually helped. I mean, from day to day, we could see the progress and actually keep up both by developing it further and also by getting feedback from one of you at Herodesk, your employees, and you as well on how we could further develop it or set up more around it. And now we're at the point where I feel like, well, I'm not worried about next month that we won't be able to keep up or that we'll have to hire more people, for example. We still have those people today to help us with customer service. We haven't let them go, but we've basically just made them more specialized in improving Herodesk or simply developing the agents we have. So it's been really,
How do you work with that? Sorry, how do you work with improving these AI agents and setting them up and working with them to, I mean, what types of inquiries do they solve for you?
well, I think two typical things that at least have a high cost for us are order changes, like when someone cancels an order. And given our system where things have to move so fast and we have so many orders coming through, we can't always catch it in time. And for a company like us that ships acoustic panels, shipping panels out where it costs 300 krona for the delivery, then it can be really expensive for us compared to sending a piece of jewelry that can be in a small box, that this item it leaves the door, and that we then basically have to pay both for it to go out there, but also for it to come back since they've cancelled, and of course have the right to get their money back. It has solved that really, really well. We've had significantly fewer of these. I mean, already the fact that we could, I think in a month we saw maybe 10 to 20 of these cases where we simply just couldn't keep up enough personally, or no matter how many people we actually put on these cases. Now we experience maybe at most one, we experienced maybe last month, and the previous month we had none, and this month we don't look like we're going to have any either. And it's of course also this that slips can happen on our end too. Maybe we've overlooked something or other. But then something else could also be that you have this thing where they want to add something to their order, that it is that we actually basically can get that we can put their order on pause before we send it off and actually add that product. It also just gives a great upsell and it gives a great feeling for the customer that we accommodate them within maybe 2 minutes, that it is after they've written to Herodesk or our AI agents. And then the last thing, that's of course all this information regarding what the products can do, what size they are, how it is with the shipping. That was some of the stuff that definitely also made our inbox look significantly scary, really, really scary on a Monday, having to go through it. And now it's actually just like that it is that we're left with maybe 10 or so where they're a bit more complex questions, which we of course continue to develop so that we can answer them. Simply this thing that from now on it's not enough just that we say that if I've given this answer, then you must give this answer to an employee. Now we can basically just say it to the AI agent, and then it can remember it going forward, and we can set up special rules for if there's something that changes over time. So it's really, really cool.
It gives a completely fantastic scalability and this thing that the agents, they can understand what it is the customer is asking about, and if they want to change the order, then the agents can automatically pause it in your system so they don't get it sent. It's a lot of money. It adds up to suddenly preventing these orders from being sent off before you make sure it's absolutely perfect.
It's a lot of money. I think we calculated at one point that if we had just 10 of these mistakes, I actually think less than that, 5 of these mistakes, then we could already pay to get a setup like yours in. So given that it's been all the way up to 20 sometimes a month and sometimes even more, I'm sure, that we just haven't seen, then it just makes really good sense that one thing is that we get the value in more sales from having this up, that we accommodate the customers, but then we can also significantly lose less money on mistakes like these that just shouldn't happen and really can eat into the bottom line for companies like ours.
Yes, and at the same time that the agents, now I'm repeating a bit what you said before, right? But that they also on weekends and in the evenings and at night can answer customer questions, answer questions about the products, and hopefully through that give the customers the final push to complete the purchase, even if you're not sitting at the desk and ready to answer the customers.
Definitely. We also see that I think it's more than almost 60% of the customers visiting our website, they only come on after we've gone home. We're not a normally we weren't present when they're actually in the buying process, when they're ready to buy, but maybe lack that last bit of information, or basically just that presence that these AI agents can provide, which is, well, we see large amounts of purchases after 4 o'clock as well as 8 o'clock and sometimes later in the evening so they can get the answer they need at that time. So still 60% of the people visiting our website can get this answer afterwards. I definitely think that makes a difference, and that's also why it is that when I'm sitting at home and can look at my Shopify users on my phone, I can see between 8 and 10 how much it has actually pushed things over time, basically. So it's really, really cool.
Mads, if you were to explain Herodesk to another web shop owner in 30 seconds, how would you do it? What would you say to them?
If I were to explain what Herodesk actually is, basically, I think the greatest value we've gotten from it is definitely our AI agents, and how to explain AI agents. All these things can seem complicated to start with, but basically, it should just be a kind of portal where customers can get the information they need and pass it on. It's about automating, and passing on enough information to these AI agents so that Herodesk will be give well a really good answer to how it got a bit too complicated. Now I'll try it another way. I think Herodesk, in terms of what we use it for, has done really, really much to help meet this customer journey. Herodesk is basically just a buddy who's on at night when you're not present. It helps you to, well, get people to make that purchase at the end of their customer journey. It basically also helps them to be able to carry them all the way through. It's like hard to explain exactly what Herodesk is because I think it can do so many things for us. But it's just a buddy that helps us to be able to run a business both night and day, basically.
I think a buddy that helps you run the business, that I can live with that.
Yes, absolutely fantastic.
Mads, thank you so much for joining us and taking 10 minutes to share that with us.
You're very welcome.